In Search of the Source. Forward. Since before the Tower of Babel, it's been an established truth that the best way to talk to anyone is in her own language. Babel made the point in a negative way. Pentecost, something of a Babel in reverse, made the point again. That was Bible translation from heaven and an indication of the significance of the particular message. Since then, however, the process of translating that message from one language and culture to another has been long and laborious. But it's not without deep value, high interest, and again, dependence on help from heaven. Translating the Bible into a language that has never been written is no easy task. First, the language must be learned, and that without normal methods of textbooks and bilingual teachers. An alphabet must be devised, a grammar analyzed, and a complete word list compiled. To add to the challenge, it must be done on location, where the language is heard continually, and where there is a total immersion into the ways and means of the culture. Not everyone has had, or would choose to have, opportunity to live amongst a far-off village in Papua New Guinea. But that's what Wycliffe translators Neil and Carol Anderson have done, along with their 4 children, over a 20-year period. The Andersons realized that culture and language are tied together. It is not just words that a newcomer must learn, but what they really stand for in any given situation. Context has everything to do with meaning, and the context in which the Andersons came to work was very different from what any Westerner is used to. In fact, one of Carol's occupations, while Neil was working on translation, was to formulate and document a book of anthropological explanations of what makes the Falopa culture tick. Did I say Bible translation was hard because of the language? It's also hard because of the Bible. The Bible is an account of God's ways, which, by God's definition, are not man's ways. This often makes for a clash. Something has to give, and God doesn't change. Such dynamics have been a reality throughout time in all cultures, coming right down to our personal lives, penetrating and dividing joints and marrow. The experiences of such clashes portrayed in this book might give insight into who we are as a people, who the Falopa are as a people, and ultimately into who God is as a God. Neil and I became friends during my brief 2-year sojourn in Papua New Guinea. As we spent time together, he shared with me some of his experiences, and I determined that they were worth sharing with the wider public. Though I lived in Kurumpa, I went on a number of trips out to Falopa country and got something of a perspective of the Andersons' lives there. It's in that place, and the end of the earth for most of us, but the very center for a certain few, that this book takes place. Covering several years of time, the book makes a number of broad jumps to keep its focus. Needless to say, there was much more going on in the Andersons' lives during this period, like raising a family, taking further training, making trips back to the United States, keeping people who were supporting them informed, and handling the regular barrage of detail that fills every life everywhere. While the Andersons' story is unique, it is also representational. There are many other couples and teams as members of Wycliffe Bible Translators and the Summer Institute of Linguistics, as well as other groups involved in Bible translation, working in scores of other countries of the world besides Papua New Guinea. The accounts of each one are different, but each in its own way relates something of the explosion, indeed, the recreation that takes place when God's word merges with man's word in a language man understands. It is to all of the teams still working toward that end that this book is dedicated. Hyatt Moore.